Hi, I'm Louise la Plante, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a pansy as part of a Colleagues in Art drawing class. This pansy that we'll be drawing today is going to be basically a line drawing that we'll then learn to color and use color to shade and provide a little bit of texture to our basic line drawing. This is a beginner video, but it's good for practice for any level. And also, if you want more advanced practice, my suggestion is that you either have a photo of a pansy and copy it, draw it from what you see, or better yet, if you have some pansies in your garden or in your neighbor's garden and you can see them, you can sit outside and do a plein air drawing of a pansy. That's going to be your best way to learn to do more realistic drawings. But today we're just going to do this fun line drawing and learn how to color it. And using color to shade is kind of a skill that is good to learn too. I'm not sure if I'm really that great at it, but I can try. So this is my finished product that I'm going to show you how we did this today. And first of all, I want to show you what tools and art supplies we need. You need a basic sketchbook. It could be just a regular sketchbook. I'm going to show you some that I've done in a mixed media book, which is what I really recommend. This is just the small 5.5 by 8 by 8.5, I guess, sketch pad. This is a pansy that we're going to create one like this today. These two were done with colored pencils, and you need basically 7 colors. If you don't have 7 colors, you can get away with a few less. But for this one, I used a couple of different pinks, a couple of different purple shades, even though it kind of looks blue on here. Camera always captures purple as blue for some reason. That is beyond my level of knowledge. And then a couple of shades of green. I guess I'm missing a couple here. You can use any type of colored pencils. So again, I used 2 different purples, 2 different pinks, 2 different greens, and 1 bright yellow for the center of this one. So that's not really a bright yellow. I think it was this one that I used. All right, so that would be 7 colors. I don't know if I have 7 colors there, but on this one, I used slightly different colors, pretty similar. I used more of an orange in the center. But when you're using the yellows for the flower, well, I guess I didn't on that one, so I don't know what I'm talking about. This is one that was done with alcohol markers. You can do it that way. And today I'm going to do one with alcohol markers because it's quicker for me as the presenter. And I'm going to use some different colors. So these are the dual-tipped art alcohol markers. You can buy them at craft stores or online. And I'm going to use, and we're going to get to the coloring part, but I'm going over it now so that you can get your stuff ready. So I'm going to use a darker red, like a maroonish red today. So it's different than this one, but it's going to look similar in style. And then a lighter orangish, because I couldn't really find the color I Oh no, actually, I'm gonna use this lighter pink. It's good to get it lined up because it can be confusing otherwise. So that's what I'm gonna do for the inside colors. And I really didn't use a lot of shading in this one, but I'm going to show you how to do that today. And that's why you need a darker color and a much lighter color so that your shading will show up. And then on the outside, instead of using this light purple or light blue as it looks like, I'm going to use a dark orange and a lighter orange. And I have two different greens, a dark green and a much lighter green. And then just one yellow, a bright, bright yellow to contrast with the oranges that I'm using today for the center so that it'll show off. It won't show off quite as much as here because it won't be as contrasting. All right, and then so basically to start though, you just need your sketch pad and pencil. And a number 2 pencil will work just fine. And I'm going to use mechanical pencil, which is also works fine. So it's just a basic mechanical pencil. They come in different lead. This one's a little thicker than I'm going to use. Lead thickness and hardness on mechanical pencils can vary, just like they do on regular pencils. All right, so your first thing you want to do is you want to draw a line like this one on the screen in the sketchbook. And once you do that, you don't want it to be too far down on the page because you're going to put a stem under it, and that is going to be your lowest petal. I already had to erase on the one I'm doing today. So I did it a little bit less heart-shaped on this one, but it's another example of how you can do it. And then once you finish that line, I'm going to add the other side. Oops, it's not going yet. The hardest part is turning these pages. Now with COVID, you don't want to lick your fingers, right? So now you add the other side, and it looks kind of like a flattened, upside down heart shape. The bottom is kind of flattened though, and maybe a little, do it kind of like this too. And remembering that mine is not going to be perfect, but in nature, things aren't perfect. Always keep in mind that yours might look much better than mine, and that is great. I hope it does, actually, because we get our basic drawing done, and it's pretty easy to color. For some people, they might need help with the drawing, and they can choose the colors they want to use. You can use any colors. These are just ideas of what colors. I'll give you some more ideas towards the end. And if you need help with the drawing and then somebody else can draw it for you and you can color it yourself, choose the colors, even have somebody help you with the coloring, it's all good. It's a very beginner's thing, so whatever we need to do to make it work. So this is our third line that we're doing, and we're looping around and flattening out the side a little bit. I didn't really flatten it out on the one on the screen. I'm going to show you on mine what I mean by that, flattened out. So it's a little flat over here. You can also add some little curvies in there, and that will look really cool too, because that's kind of what pansies have. They kind of have a flattened curvy shape. And again, if you want more advanced practice, look at an actual photo of a pansy. That can be helpful, really helpful actually. And then once you finish that third loopy petal, we're going to do another one. And again, you kind of flatten it out and make some squiggles on it. That one looks a little, maybe like a bug ate part of its petal. All right, I'm going to fix mine a little bit, and that's the nice thing about using a pencil to sketch it in. Also, you might not want to draw as dark as I do. I tend to draw really dark, and then I have to erase a little bit. Also, it helps for me to draw dark so you can see it. That's my excuse for it, but that's not really entirely true. I always tend to have a heavy hand in drawing. And I'm working on that. That's something that I'm working on. We all have things that we have to work on, right? Because art is a lot of different skills. All right, and now this is going to be our fourth petal that we're adding, and it's off to the side. And you can bring it around like, whoops, like this. Bring it way up to towards the top of the page. I'm having technical difficulties with my, there we go. And once you do that, and you can bring it down a little bit farther on this side, I would actually. I did a little bit farther on this one. You can bring it a little farther if you wanted to. So that's our fourth petal. Now we're going to add our fifth petal, and it tends generally uneven numbers of petals make it look better for some reason. Never really fully understood that, but it seems to be true. If you are making something with 3 objects or 5 objects in an art piece, it looks more balanced for some reason and more aesthetically pleasing. So this is our fifth petal here. Once you get that in, and you can see where I took up way more space on this one. As I make more of these pansies, I tend to make them bigger. You can make them bigger or smaller, either way. And then once you finish that, your last petal up here on the top, I'm going to put in the stem. And the stem is basically just 2 lines off to the side, off to the left side or the right side. It's either way, probably work, but seems like this kind of balanced. And you can go down as far as you want, make it as wide as you want. You can even put some curve into it if you want to. And that's just the 2 lines down from the stem. And then you see that squiggly line over here. First of all, I'm going to show you this. There's 2 lines. Just that is the stem. All right. And then I just added this line is going to be the vein for the leaf. And on this one, I actually went off the page, which is fine to do too. It gives it a little artistic flair. All right, and once you get that done, it's looking more and more like a pansy. And then for the leaf, I start on the bottom and just kind of bring it up and do it real loose and real fast. Those are called variegated leaves when they're have those little notches in them. That's what pansies kind of leaves they have. And then there's this little triangle right in the middle of that upside down heart shape. You just draw that in. It doesn't have to be perfect. It might have a little bit of swirls on the bottom or curves. I'm not sure what you'd call that, but the shape is kind of triangular though. And so you put that triangle in. And then if you want to put your leaf on the other side, that's fine. There's just some ideas. You could also put in some lines to give you an idea where the colors are going to go. You don't have to do that. And this is the colored, finished colored version. I'm going to give you some tips on coloring. But once you finish your drawing, then you can start your coloring. So when you decide what you want to use to color with, you can use colored pencils like we talked about earlier. And you will need 7 colors. And we had some examples. These are some examples. You can also use the alcohol-based markers. They look kind of like this. You could use just plain old-fashioned crayons. I won't show you the brand because I don't want to promote anyone, but you all know pretty much the brand. 7 colors I've chosen for this one, just to give you an example of what you could use. Some darker blues, purplish blues, the bright yellow for the center, the 2 oranges for the outside color on the petals, and these purple ones are for the inside petals, and then 2 greens for the leaves. You can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, any kind of colored pencils. You could use, just shade it with your pencils, your regular pencils. So I'm going to go ahead and I finished this one. This is what yours might look like out now. Something like this. And I'm going to start coloring it in and show you how I'm coloring it with the alcohol markers. But also we do have the example again, so that if you are using colored pencils, sorry, just when you think you're organized. Well, this is a colored pencil example that I haven't really finished because I haven't put in all the shading. And then this is another one that, and you can shade it differently, but I put in a lot of lines when I'm using the colored pencils, and I'm going to try to do that today with the alcohol markers because otherwise it looks really flat. And that's why I do like the colored pencils a lot for this project. So if you want to do it like that, that is one example. Okay, so once you're ready to start coloring, and you've picked out your colors and you're gotten it together, you can start with coloring that little triangle. And it's like the pollen part of the flower, so it's usually going to be yellow or orange, like a bright orange or a bright yellow. But you can make it any color you want, or you don't even have to have it on there. And then I'm going to go on and I'm going to do the outside of the petals with the lighter color of the 2 that I've chosen. The darker colors are only going to be used for shading and shadows, so you want to use them sparingly. But start with that little triangle. All right, and I started with that first petal with the triangular shape. And I'm going to go ahead and do the dark middle part of the petal just to show you before continuing with the light outer part of the petal. Now this orange is a little darker than it looks on the caps, and it's a good idea to test your colors first. So I'm kind of like do as I say, not as I do, I guess. And the thing about markers or even crayons and colored pencils are a little more erasable, but markers certainly aren't. So I added that little dark color before I realized I said to use the light first. I'm not sure if I'm going to want that there, but I do like that color though. So now I'm going to continue on and do the lights on the outsides of all of the petals. And you can continue on as well. Now I've done the lights on the flower, and I'm going to add the darks now. So now I added some darks to the middle part, and it looks a little messy right now because I need to add some of the darker oranges and maybe even some of the darker maroon in with the orange. So I'm going to do that now. And I'm not sure if I like the way it's shaded, so I'm going to add some more of the dark maroon to the middle part. All right, that's a little better. I'm still not thrilled, but that's often how I feel. So now the curves are not quite right here, so I need to fix that. But adding a little curve gives it some depth. It can also be distracting, as it is here for me anyway. I'm going to fix that, try to fix that, make the curves a little more, like add a little curve there, and then I'm going to start shading in the leaves and the stem with the lighter green. All right, so now I think I fixed that. It looks a little better. Anyway, the colors, I really like the colors I chose for this one. They look kind of like the colors you would see in pansies. I've been playing with the coloring, especially with the markers. I think that the colored pencils are going to be easier to use for this project, especially for the shading. This is one that I did where I didn't really use enough shading, but it's also, it looks all right. And so it's all about practicing. Well, practice. I've done drawings of real flowers that probably look better than this, but it's good for me to practice this as well, as you can see. And then I'm going to just add some darker green. This actually looks yellow here, but it was a greenish yellow. And so I'm going to add some more green, darker, to make it look shadowed under here. The leaves don't have to be perfect because they're kind of in the other leaves, so if you go out of the lines, it's not a big deal. I'm going to add a little dark onto the stem so it looks like there's a shadow. And you can do that too. All right, and then I also added the darker green, and I put a little shadow line here, and I could add a little more of the darker up on top of the leaf too. And then I took some of the yellow from the center that I had used, and I added that to the leaf. And you could add some of that to the stem as well, and to the grass. And then I signed it, because you should always sign your art, and I dated it, even though not all artists date their art. I'm not sure why. I'm kind of like to date my art, but so you can do that. I'm going to show you some other examples. This is one that you've seen already, done with colored pencils, and not quite finished. I still need to add some more of the darker pinks, and I signed it already. So another one with alcohol markers with purple and orange. And this one that's actually two different shades of purple but looks blue. And this is still my favorite, I think, because I added some variegation onto the petals and made this a little bit less symmetrical, and used colored pencils. I think colored pencils really work well with the lines and showing the curvature in and giving it some shadow within the petal. So that's my favorite one. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. Peace out and see you next time. Thank you so much.